Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 8th Circular Cities webinar. Today, I'm Helena Podolsky, and I'll be the host for today. And we'll be discussing an important topic that I think many of you were quite interested in, which is the topic of circular procurement and how it can help the transition towards more circular cities. Public procurement is a quite decisive tool that can have a quite high impact on how cities support their transition to a circular economy. So in the recently published 2024 CCD report, we have seen that a number of our signatory cities are using procurement to support their circular economy projects across different sectors, such as textiles, construction, bio-waste management, etc. So we see this is quite an interesting tool because it can really support different aspects of the circular economy. So I think the question today is not whether public procurement matters, because we all know that it's quite an impactful tool, representing 14% of EU GDP. Here, the question is really how to better implement it and use it as a lever to accelerate this transition across our whole city and all that city governments have to do. So in this CCD webinar, we'll examine good and practical examples of how different tools or mechanisms have been put in place to support the implementation of circular procurement across different cities. We're very thankful to numerous support partners and CCD signatories who will present their examples and tools they have used to support the implementation of circular procurement. So we'll have like quite a large panel of examples ranging from commitment and pledges to lifecycle costing tools to the use of EU-funded projects to support this transition. So before we get started into the topic, may I remind you of a few housekeeping rules. So we would like you to stay muted during the presentation of the speakers. You can ask questions to speakers in the chat. And we would like you to take a few minutes now, and it'll be great if you can rename yourself to include the name of your organization. So as you can see, Eric has done it quite well with Eric and the name of Helsinki behind it. I see quite a few. It'd be nice to know from which organizations you are all from. And during the breakout sessions, it'll be nice to see your faces. So if you can share your camera, if that's a possibility for you. And as you know, and you see the sign, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording of the plenary sessions will be uploaded to the CCD website, so you could see it or rewatch it again or share it with your network. I think you have all seen the agenda for today. As you can see, we have quite a packed agenda with quite a few speakers. We have 7 speakers today, with several of our support partners, including the IB, Circular Flanders, and Re-London, and several of our signatory cities, including the city of Malmö, one of our newest members, the London Borough of Newham, the city of Helsinki, and the city of Rotterdam. So thanks to all for having accepted our invitation to speak today. So the first hour will be mostly presentations and the introduction of speakers. And in the second hour, we'll have a breakout room discussion, and we'll share insights and we'll tell you about some of the upcoming activities of the CCD. So before we get started, we're always very glad to see that our CCD network keeps growing and growing. And we now currently have 83 signatories from all these European countries, which is always nice to see. And welcome to our newest members, if several of you are on the call today. This is also a map to show how the network is growing. We can really see that circular economy is a growing topic across Europe. As you all know, we're very glad that the CCD report, the 2024 version of it, has been published in April, and it was launched at the World Circular Economy Forum here in Brussels. So we want to thank all of you who have contributed to this report and your efforts and your reporting. This year, we're not going to publish another report in 2025. The next report will be in 2026, but we have an opportunity for you to contribute to the OECD report, and we'll tell you more about the survey at the end of the webinar, and more information will be shared with all of you by email. So to get us started, I would like to ask you a question to sense where cities are at. So if you can scan with your smartphone this QR code or go to menti.com, so MENTI.com, and use the code 63599497. It appears on your screen. You can either open in a new browser, and we would like to ask you 2 questions. So let me open the Meti and launch the questionnaire. So the first question is, has your city used a circular approach to procurement? Yes, you have, and you have good result. You tried, but it was a bit of a mixed picture. No, you're not using it at all, or no, and you're not interested in the tool at all. So I'll give you 2 minutes to. So we have one non-applicable, or I'll let a few more participants answer this poll. I see a few likes. So I think this webinar is quite timely because we can see that a number of you are either using and having good results, or you're trying, but it's not quite at the level or use to the extent it could have. So these are quite interesting results for us to know and take into consideration for our upcoming activities. Yeah, I think. And if you have any problems accessing the Meti, let us know, and my colleague Chiara, who's on the call, can help you with this. Okay, so let's move on to the second question. On your browser or on your phone, you can see the second one. And what we want to ask you is to do more circular procurement or adopt a circular procurement approach. What support would your city need from the CCD, ICLE, and the support partners behind this initiative? So this, you have free text, and you could give a more long answer. Advice on winning criteria. So I guess the criteria or how these have been used. Yeah, again, criteria. Okay. Interesting. None. One best practice examples, funding. But what I can see clearly, or the number one request from you, is having more examples or ideas on how to use criteria. I'll scroll through a few more answers. Cases, case studies, specific barriers and how to overcome them. Several times funding. So this is also quite timely because the presentation of the IB will give you some insights into this. Unfortunately, the QR code is hiding some of these results. Now, this is very interesting. I'll keep the poll open a few more minutes, but it's really interesting for us to see your insights on this. So now, without any further ado, we'll go back to the presentation and we will now discuss best practice examples from across Europe of how different tools have been used to implement a circular approach to procurement. And first up, our first speaker today is Sonia from the EIB, the European Investment Bank, who will be presenting challenges and opportunities for circular procurement in cities. So Sonia, I'll just pop your presentation in. And Sonia, the floor is yours now.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for inviting the EIB to present our side and our initiatives. I have a very limited time, so we have 5 minutes. So without further ado, I will dig in within our slides. Elena, could you go to the next one, please? Next. So this is an example or a illustration that we include in all the work that we are doing within circular procurement here at the EIB. To illustrate very easily to our clients what is the target of the circular economy and what is the target or how circular public procurement can lead and can support such achievement. Next one. So circular public procurement or public procurement has been identified as a key tool to support the development and the delivery of the other SDGs. When we think that around the world, the value of global public procurement is around 15 to 20% of the global GDP, we understand how used wisely and used for broader social and environmental ambitions, public procurement can deliver on such objectives. So regarding the particular case of circular economy, why it is important? Because it does support the circular economy ambitions. Then it may support and the improvement of the value of the natural resources, aim or being a tool to reduce the carbon emissions and to support the elimination of waste. Very important, circular public procurement, and here at the EIB we are also doing work within innovation procurement, is a tool or an enabler to encourage innovation. Further, it also provides capacity building or the possibility of capacity building and the cooperation between the private and the public sector. Next one, Elena. So the road to circular public procurement, this is what we say to our clients. You need to start to do it. It's a change of mindset. It's a change of how we do the things from a traditional let's call it traditional mentality or a traditional way to do procurement to a complete different mindset that we go from the procurement officer to procurement to a collaboration. Next one. Next one. And now something that is important for us here at the EIB, and I believe it can be translated and imported as well to the cities, because we are the funding and we are, the ones supporting the development and the financing of CPP. So how can the EIB and how can the cities support the mainstreaming of circular public procurement? So first, to develop policy tools and guidances. And I've seen it on the previous responses that was something that has been where you need the support. More than just develop the policies, tools, and guidances, to provide such documents in a simple language, in a practical language, and this is what we are aiming and what we are working here at the IB, and also in a way that those are interconnected. They are not contradicting themselves, especially when we talk about the policies. A second, and as we know, anyone working with the circular public procurement can be a witness on how important is the market engagement, how crucial it is to implement successfully any circular public procurement ambitions. A third, and also we've seen it on the previous slides, is the capacity building. One thing that our promoters do tell us is that they are not so much aware of the possibilities. And as per all the researchers of, for instance, of the OECD, the most important aspect nowadays regarding the procurement force is a procurement force that is aware of what is expected of them and have the tools to deliver. The fourth is the monitoring and reporting. We can only see if our policies, if our initiatives are successful, if we have in place reporting mechanisms, monitoring mechanisms, which allow us to see the results, but which allow us as well to maybe change the policies, update the policy if those are not being successful. Financial and technical support, this is, and we will now talk about the EIB initiatives in this matter, and develop and support CPP knowledge networks. Next one, Elena. Next one. Here, EIB is also part on mainstreaming circularity in the construction, and this I try to group the main obstacles and the main challenges that our promoters tell us, and that my colleagues in other organizations, in other IFIs, in other UN agencies do tell us that it are those that are in this moment the biggest challenge to overcome. First is the governance and regulatory, and with a special emphasis on the lack of mandatory sustainable procurement requirements, the uncertainties in the public procurement law, and this relates to the non-alignment of the environmental and economic targets, meaning when the policies within legislation are not aligned, and the lack of strategic pressure or political leadership regarding CPP. We all know that if we are to implement CPP, we will need a political leadership which leads or which emphasizes the need to implement and to change the CPP. Technical barriers where the purchases requirements are unclear. And one thing that has been a major concern is that the procurements are locked down in the planning phase, meaning that there is no innovation possible during the implementation of the procurement. The last one on this category is the lack of measuring tools. The workforce barriers, and I touch upon this matter, it relates, to the procurement workforce and the need to change the mentality, but also the need of the capacity building. And lastly, but not least, the market barriers. And we also seen it in the previous response to Elena's slides. So the lack of standards and certificates, the price and the perception that CPP can be more expensive. And again, the lack of public and private collaboration, meaning the market engagement and the so important that it is to advance CPP. Elena? So this is a very short, slide where we try to summarize the EIB initiatives. So from 2019 up to the end of 2023, the EIB landed on circular economy projects 3.83 billion euros. For a total number of 132 operations that were financed by the EIB, with 42% on the industry and services. We are also an active member of the MDP Circular Economy Working Group, where mainly we are trying to work together, to mainstream, but also to align policies regarding circular economy. And I just want to emphasize or to show you three main initiatives. The first is the decisive, that is a partnership between the EU largest national promotional banks and institutions such as the EIB, with the target to invest at least 16 billion euros in the circular economy by 2025. A second one is the EIB Circular Economy Guide, and this is it's a live document that we are trying to update as the need comes. So the guide provides information about our activities regarding lending and advisory within the field of circular economy. And the last one, and I believe Iklay will further speak about, is the Circular City Center, the C3, which is a competence and a resource center within the EIB. And the main target is to support the EU cities in their circular economy transition. And I will let, Dan Simon speak further, because I understood he would like, to discuss further our C3 initiative. So this was a very brief presentation, hopefully within the 5 minutes I had, and I remain available for any question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sonia. Very interesting overview. And indeed, we will share with you more information about initiatives. So now we will have the presentation of Circular Flanders and City of Namur, who have worked together on two projects related to the procurement of circular furniture. So Alexandra, please.
Yeah, I'll just try to share my slides.
Yes, I can see them nice and clear.
Yes, okay, perfect. So hello everyone, my name is Alexandra van de Vivre and I work at Circular Flanders. For those who don't know what Circular Flanders is, it is the hub for the circular economy in the Flanders region of Belgium. It is a public-private partnership of businesses, companies, governments, the civil society, knowledge institutes, all taking action together in order to transition from this linear economy to a circular one. I will do my best to compromise all the information I want to share in 5 minutes, but bear with me. So we would like to share our experiences and lessons learned regarding circular procurement, as well as diving into some findings related to circular office furniture specifically. So we are currently engaged in the CEO project. It's a very nice abbreviation for a circular economy office project, which focuses on transitioning the circular office furniture sector towards an innovative, cost-effective, resource-efficient economy through transnational collaboration. We are with 13 partners working together to share knowledge about legal frameworks. It's a very holistic approach. So legal frameworks, but also eco-design, circular business models, all working together in order to make this sustainable shift in the market to promote circular office furniture and make it accessible on a larger scale market. Well, and how did it all start? So in 2017, Circular Flanders started this Green Deal on circular procurement together with some other actors. And over the course of 2 years, these organizations, together with 150 organizations, all committed to collectively procuring and facilitating these circular procurement projects. And there was a lot happening back then, from peer-to-peer learning to events such as market dialogues, buyer meet suppliers, market events, very much happening back then. And this was all captivated into a website. It's called circularprocurement.be, and it's all translated into English as well. And we also launched this LinkedIn group. It's called Circular Procurement Learning Network, which with the aim of sharing examples, knowledge, really learning together on a global level. So everyone here also invited to join. You can scan the QR code, but after my presentation, I will also share the link in the chat. And then I also like to highlight this one specific tool, which was developed during the Green Deal. It's called the Circular Ambition Chart. Its purpose is to set goals and strategies for circular procurements. So on top you can see the goals, and then on the bottom you have all these strategies in order to reach those goals. It's a very nice tool to use as well as with your suppliers to get into dialogue on the needs, and for the suppliers to know what you will be asking, but also in your organization itself to internally align goals. And this is just one of really very many tools that are accessible on our website. And then after the Green Deal, we got engaged into the ProCirc project, which was a learning experience aimed at learning how circular economy can benefit through public procurement practices. It was a project that lasted for 4 years. It ran from 2019 to June of last year, and also aimed at facilitating this knowledge exchange on how public procurement can act as a catalyst for this transition from a linear to a circular economy. We had more than 30 pilot projects where circular procurement was put into practice, where each pilot aimed at resulting 20 to 25% of a reduction in raw material use, waste, and CO2 emission. And these impacts were made possible to strategic procurement power, but also stakeholder connections and capacity building. But why are we talking about ProCirc? Well, within the CEO project, we want to build upon the knowledge gained from the ProCirc project. So we want to take these lessons of circular procurement activities specifically to circular office furniture. And I would like to share some of these main findings with you today. So in the final months of the ProCirc projects, our partners are analyzed over these 30 pilot case studies, revealing that this furniture sector had already reached a relatively mature stage and had very much scaling potential, but it wasn't really happening. So although procurers were eager to integrate these criteria and suppliers were improving their offerings, but still there were some limitations on capacity. So it's still some work to be done. Next, so there were very much options for reused, refurbished, and remanufactured furniture available, but collaboration is very much crucial to manage constraints. Suppliers need access to suitable discarded furniture and materials, and limited demand creates uncertainty among suppliers and hinders their willingness to invest. Where procurement can improve the market by providing predictability to circular suppliers, and flexibility allows these suppliers to meet these demands. There is no shortage of second-hand furniture, but there are timing and design constraints, and suppliers respond with integrated solutions such as take-back schemes and collaboration, making these operations more efficient and ensuring a reliable supply of reused and refurbished furniture. Then circular furniture services also offer options to support organization in the transition to circularity. Consultancy is one such service where suppliers offer expertise and guidance on how to optimize the reuse of existing furniture. And when functional needs really cannot be met with reused or refurbished furniture, only then can the purchase of new furniture be considered. And this circular new furniture, suppliers really emphasize longevity, durability, and quality using upcycled materials and design for disassembly. And this also while complying them with chemical restrictions and ideally offering these take-back schemes, encouraging reuse and recycling afterwards. So this holistic approach extends the lifespan of furniture, reducing waste and promoting these circular practices in the industry. Then also several success factors are important when procuring these circular furniture contracts. So the design of the procurement process should take into account the interests of circular suppliers, provide them with flexibility, and be open to various design options. And collaborating with social enterprises and encouraging partnerships promotes added value and inclusiveness, and encouraging suppliers to provide innovative solutions and make continuous improvements is really essential. So framework contracts can be more effective when they're broken into separate parts, and linking contracts for new furniture to reused contracts also encourages sustainability. So integrating these circular criteria when tendering new furniture, such as longer lifespan and use of recycled materials, also promotes circularity. And then ProCirc also drafted these joint statements of demands, which are really captivating collective procuring power in order to move the market towards innovation. And these were made for 3 product categories, being workwear, office furniture, and electrical vehicle charging points. So these GSDs aim to set ambitious targets for future procurement, providing these procurers with tested circular requirements and then showcasing joint requirements from committed procurers and encouraging these supplier innovation. So this approach also aims to promote sustainability and encourage collaboration across the whole furniture supply chain. And then I would like to hand the word over to Johanna, in which we were partners as well in the ProCirc project as in the CEO project now. So very happy to be giving these insights together.
Yes, thank you so much, Alexandra. And my name is Johanna Thunlid. I work as a Circular Sustainability Coordinator at the Central Procurement Unit in the city of Malmö. And we can go to the next slide. Alex, yes, thank you. Before I go into our procurement of circular furniture, I will really briefly link to what Alexandra has just been talking about, because as she said, City of Malmö was a partner in ProCirc, and we're also a partner in the CEO project. And during the ProCirc project, we did several circular procurement pilots, but we also worked a lot with our circular procurement process. And this is just to give you a brief overview that the main takeaway here is that we don't have a separate circular procurement process. We rather incorporate circular tools in our usual process. And by this way of working, we make it easier, more accessible, and easier for almost every procurer to apply. So here we have a set of different tools. And if you're interested in those, you can reach out to me after this seminar. And I mean, if we say that the procurement process is quite the same, when it comes to contract management, it differs a bit though, compared to non-circular contracts. And you will see this in the furniture example. And the reason for this is the nature of circular criteria. When following up circular contracts, we focus more on dialogue and how to further develop it together with both the suppliers and the users. So how to develop routines for repair, maintenance, etc. During the contract period. Next one. So reused furniture and related services. This was our first circular procurement. We did this procurement in 2018, 2019 somewhere. And last year this was renewed. This is a framework agreement with 6 suppliers. And in our new agreement, we have 2 sub-areas. So we have one area for office furniture and one for school furniture. And furniture for schools was not part of the last contract, so this is new. And this contract, or the framework agreement, covers purchasing of secondhand furniture, but also what we call related services. So except selling a reused furniture to us, the supplier should also be able to wash, repair, and refurbish our existing furniture. And there is also a possibility for us to sell our unused furniture to the suppliers of this contract. Next. When it comes to criteria in the tender documents, so every bidder needed to provide a circular action plan with the tender explaining how circularity will be further developed during the contract period. And that is also the action plan for the contract now when it's up and running. And we also had criteria for fossil-free transports. And when it comes to chemicals, this is always a discussion. We have different criteria for the different sub-areas. For furniture for offices, we have the same criteria for materials that they add in refurbishment purposes as we have for new furniture. Otherwise, it's just a restriction of really hazardous chemicals. And this is because traceability is an issue when it comes to secondhand product, and we didn't want to limit the product range too much. When it comes to furniture for schools, we have stricter chemicals criteria because it's products that will be used by children. And of course, we want to measure the effects of this contract. Therefore, we monitor yearly how much of our total furniture purchasing that comes from reuse. 2023, that was 23%. And there is also potential cost saving here. So numbers from 2019 indicates that buying reuse instead of new gave an economic saving around 30%. And we save more than 200 tons of CO2 equivalents yearly by this. Next one. And what's next for us? We work with the furniture category with all of the different contracts that we have here, and to see how they are interlinked and how they contribute to a circular flow. We still need to upscale reuse, and in order for that to happen, we continue to work with behavioral aspects in our organization, so how we purchase. And we do this in different ways. For example, by organizing supplier meets buyers events, and where suppliers can showcase their reused furniture. And in the CEO project, we're working with how to procure newly produced furniture in a circular way. We need to get new furniture into a circular system. And another aspect, the last one, is our work with universal design and accessibility. We actually won the Procure Plus Award for this last year. And this is, of course, really, really important for social sustainability, but also for circularity, since products that are designed this way, they are easier to reuse in different environments and contexts. Next one. Thank you. This was it. And yeah, please reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Johanna and Alexandra, for this very interesting presentation. It's really nice to see two people who have actually worked together and the different tools that the CEO project and Firstwork have developed. So now we'll switch over to another sector, which is food. And we'll have Rachel from London and Andy from the London Borough of Newham tell us about their food procurement strategies.
Andy, I'm going to suggest that I do my own because I've moved my slides around a little bit, and then I'll unshare and you can share, if that's all right. Thank you. Okay, brilliant. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting us to speak here today. So I'm Rachel Sharp. I work for an organisation called London, which is a partnership between the Mayor of London and London's 33 local authorities. And we focus on circular economy and transitions and reducing waste in the city. And I'm going to talk very briefly, just for a few minutes, about how we've used procurement or purchasing as a lever to accelerate London's transition to a more circular economy for food. So I wanted to start briefly with some context for this work. So from research that we carried out in 2021, we know that there are two key emissions hotspots in London's food system: food waste and diets. And corresponding to this, we know that the two key levers that will bring about the largest reductions in emissions are, correspondingly, reducing food loss and waste and making better use of waste, and reducing meat consumption. And in London, London is doing a lot to act on these two levers. Today, I'm only going to talk about how we've leveraged procurement or food purchasing. So this is London: large, dense, transient, diverse. And the key message I want to get across here is its complex governance landscape. So we have a Mayor of London, we have 33 local authorities, each with their own, and each of those 33 local authorities have their own responsibilities when it comes to purchasing or procuring food. So this isn't done centrally like it is in some other cities. Each of the 33 local authorities have their own responsibilities for doing it. And some have a lot of centralized control over food purchasing. So some have their own catering services or their own catering companies, essentially, in schools. Others contract a private company. Others devolve it completely to schools. So the governance landscape here is very complex. So what we set about doing over a year ago now, for those local authorities that do control their food purchasing, we wanted to develop a common and unifying level of ambition that they could aim for around food purchasing to reduce the environmental impacts of the food that they're buying, specifically focusing on those two levers, so specifically focusing on dietary change and waste reduction. So what we did with a working group of local authorities, and we did this collaboratively with London councils, their climate programme, and a fantastic organisation called Sustain, we developed a voluntary commitment for local authorities to sign with clear targets, clear, ambitious and feasible targets around food waste reduction and around reducing emissions from the food purchased. And this commitment we developed has two key targets. So first of all, a target to reduce food emissions per meal by 38% by 2030. And the second, a target to reduce food waste by 50% by 2030. The second target, of course, is aligned with SDG 12.3. And the first target, the 38% reduction, isn't just a number that we've plucked out of the air. This is aligned with the World Resource Institute's Cool Food Pledge, which I'm sure many organisations here are familiar with. And so it's aligned with that pledge and their science behind that pledge. And this 38% target is aligned with the Paris Climate Agreement and what action is needed to deliver on that. As well as those two key targets, there's also a requirement to measure it.
I think we lost you, Rachel. I don't know if it's just me.
No, we have, but we're at a reasonable point where if she's not able to come back, I'm able to pick up the ball. But I'll need you to help me with share screen privileges, Helena, because at the moment Rachel is still there and possibly still talking away somewhere in London. I'm unaware that Helsinki and Haarlem and Flanders cannot hear.
Okay, so
if you're able to give me share screen, I will pick up the baton.
okay, so
there we go.
You should be able to share your screen now.
I've got it. Can we all? Oh, let me try that again. Can we all see that?
It's starting. Yes, I see your presentation.
Right, and if I can work out how to make it whole screen without moving you out the way, we'll
you have to do at the bottom. You have this little symbol next to the Zoom button. Next, more to the right. No, bottom. There's a button to make it. Yeah, on the way down, next to the Zoom button, next to the minus.
I can't see any of that. Never mind.
You can use F5.
Not to worry. Let's use the slides, and we'll be fine. So the commitment outline. Oh, hello. I've got somebody drawing on my screen. It's more than I can cope with technologically. Let's focus on what we were discussing in terms of commitment. So the commitment focuses on three key targets, and it gives us tools to look at our per plate waste. Our per plate CO2 emissions, our food waste, and the potential of our total budget that's spent on food. And it's an absolutely brilliant and very, very straightforward toolkit that any authority is able to take away and use. But where it gets interesting is here. I won't give you the background. I'm Andy Gold. I'm the London Borough of Newham's head of... I've got somebody drawing on my screen in blue pen. I don't know who that is, but you are so many years ahead of me in the use of the technology. I'm the London Borough's head of food strategy. It's an unusual thing in the United Kingdom. I'm not going to lean into the judgments of European colleagues on our food culture and the way we do things here, but it's definitely something that's not as strategically embedded or as culturally embedded in... I shouldn't be getting so much humour from the Dutch. You're not the ones I expected that from. But it is significant, and there's a great joke about when is the best time to plant a tree, and the answer is always 5 years ago, so you have a really strong tree. And there's an element in Newham that when we came to do this work with Rachel in London, when using these tools, we were already very well established. So I'll leave some of that in the leave behind pack about what food strategy is as a team and what we do. And there's a reference to one or two other bits of significant food procurement that we do, and something that we've just done around healthier advertising. But in terms of the London Circular Procurement tools, local authorities in the United Kingdom, we're one of those 32 or 33, depending on how you count them in London local authorities. We're a pretty significant sized city, just under 400,000 people. If we weren't swallowed up into London, we're a big place in our own right. When it comes to the food that local authorities have historically directly controlled, school meals has always been where the volume is. We do 12 million meals every year in our schools in Newham. It's a significant amount of food. And we have two big tools in how we oversee that. As Rachel mentioned, some local authorities still have their own catering services, and we are one of those. And we had what for a long time we were able to comfortably say was the largest in London, but it's definitely one of the remaining 2 largest of the 5 left in London out of 32. And we also, and I'll talk about this slightly later, we run the UK's oldest universal meal scheme. I can't see if anybody's here from Estonia, but they're the most famous in Europe, perhaps, for their history of... Oh, hello, have you got Estonian connections? You're nodding along. But they're obviously the most famous for paying for meals for all of their children. That's something we've done in Newham for 15 years. We were the first in the United Kingdom to do so. There are 2 big tools. Now, in terms of our catering service, in terms of the meals we actually prepare ourselves as a council, really straightforward. We took those tools away. All of you who are in local government will be familiar with a cascade. We sent it out to everyone, everywhere, doing food. They came back with what they were buying, and we were able to use the tools to calculate what we were buying, how much CO2e we were producing with those meals, and to get a sense of what those food purchases look like, what they look like in terms of emissions. And I've done these slides in the wrong order, but also, and this was really encouraging, where we stood compared to European and city and group averages. And obviously, that's a really exciting low tower, isn't it? That's a really great low rise that we were really pleased with, and it gave us encouragement and suggested actually that the approach we were already taking was pointing us in the right direction. But the story, unfortunately, doesn't stop there, because 40 years ago, we began outsourcing our school meals in the capital. Again, you'd all be familiar with a good old-fashioned outsource. Anyone who's been in the European Union, that 40-year journey began in the 80s. The image here is from a strike of what we call the Great Dinner Ladies Strike, using the language of the times. 40 years ago, the women out on strike all talked about the erosion of workforce conditions that were coming and the loss of control of services. And that's largely come to pass. Local authorities no longer directly control their school meal services, because the system now offers every school the chance to go out and procure. And so we run a massive school meal service, but we only control 2/3 of our primary schools, which is considered remarkable in the UK. But we only do 10% of our secondary schools, which is probably in line with the national picture. And the difference is because of Eat for Free. So our universal meal scheme has been going for 15 years, but it's really become the thing that it is today in the last 5 years, when we introduced grant conditions and grant principles. And so we write into the grant some very specific language. Here's an infographic about what the scheme does for you to perhaps have a look at later if it's of interest. But we write into the grant, we leverage into the grant now some very specific conditions that say to all schools receiving the grant money, if you go out to tender on a procurement, you must put this very specific language in. Now, we have lots and lots of objectives around community wealth building, around the quality of those meals. And we have some specific goals around our Just Transition Plan. We were the first local authority in the UK to produce a Just Transition Plan to a green economy. And we've been able to write in this year into the grant conditions the London Circular Procurement Commitment, so that any caterer in any school where you are receiving the grant conditions, when they run a tender, they are asked that anyone competing that tender or seeking to win that tender signs up to the terms and conditions of the London Circular Procurement Commitment. So that then means that we've got the ability to not ask underfunded and really overstretched schools to be trying to, monitor their own, monitor the carbon output of their own food, but in essence to pass that straight onto the caterer. So we as a council are providing the money for those universal meals, and we're able to lever this money to make it an obligation of the caterer, even though we don't run those procurement processes. There's a combination of ask as well as give. In addition to the money, we do some pretty high spec support materials. We make sure that you can see our Eat for Free grant toolkit. This is aimed at schools, but it's also aimed at the intermediaries they often bring in to manage tenders, and it's aimed at the caterers themselves. And it's designed to make it impossible for you to miss what's in that grant letter. The grant conditions and the grant principles are woven into the procurement, and the goal is to really leverage that money. We want more than just a school meal for every child. We want to make it part of a whole school approach, and we want to make circular food procurement part of that whole school approach. We support with those high spec materials. We make really clear to schools, this is work for your caterer, not for you. And then we have a pretty significant, in the London Borough of Newham, support team to schools around school meals. And that covers the grant and the grant conditions and the monitoring. But also we do other work around that hopefully means all schools really see the value of being a partner with us on this grant and taking on these grant conditions and grant principles. What's next? Well, we are really excited that in London, universal meals has continued to grow. And we've gone from just doing it in Newham to the London Mayor Sadiq Khan now paying for every London primary school child to have a school meal. And that's really significant. He has a grant of his own. The GLA, the Greater London Authority, has a grant of their own. And what we're looking to do now is to work the same type of grant principles and conditions into that grant. So those of us that have been doing it for a long time and have got this established. And it's a journey, because you need the schools to come along with it. It's a lot of work as well as a lot of return doing school meals in every school. But what is next is getting those stakeholders on board and making this London wide. So that's a really, really exciting next step. And I look forward to coming back if we make that happen. And I'm sorry you didn't get to hear the rest of Rachel, but we will send you around a leave behind pack that hopefully covers that off.
Thank you so much, Andy and Rachel.
Oh, Rachel's back. Rachel,
yes.
Did I miss anything off there?
No, that was great. Sorry, everyone. My internet dropped out at the worst time, but I was basically done, I think. So thank you, Andy, for picking up.
We were close. It was a seamless baton pass. Nobody noticed.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you to you both. It's really interesting to see what London has done and all the different tools like grants that you're using to support this. So we can see that different levers are linked to procurement. All the information on the slides will be made available to participants, so you'll get access to that and all this information. Without any further ado, we'll move up north to the city of Helsinki, where they're procuring turfs, artificial sports turf. So Eric, please.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, and I will share my screen in a second. So thank you for the invitation, and my name is Erik Nyroos, and I work as a project manager for the city of Helsinki in a life-funded project called Blast Life. In this project, the city aims to find circular solutions for plastics in infrastructure and green space construction. So that's about me and the project. And the next one is the case example, the artificial turf. And I want to make sure that everybody knows what we are talking about. So you may know it by artificial grass or synthetic turf or astroturf or some other name. And the idea is that the turf replicates the playing conditions of an actual grass field. And there's one turf in the picture you see right now. And so the turf is made from artificial grass that is mostly plastics. And then there's infillings that are usually sand and rubber. And as the summers are really short here in the Northern Europe, we don't have the luxury of having real grass fields for everyone. So the artificial turfs are the second best option. So today's topic is about circular procurement and innovation. And I will be talking about it from the point of view of finding circular solutions for artificial turfs when those are discarded. So our starting point is the challenge that we have in Helsinki. And all the other places where there are artificial turfs. So what to do to the turf after it has served its original purpose? So first of all, why is this an important challenge? It is, we have about 75 turfs in Helsinki, and in Finland, the number is around 500. And every year we need to renew 5 to 10 turfs. So what do we do to the old turfs? So far, there hasn't been really any circular solutions for these turfs when they reach their end of life. It has been the service provider's responsibility to get rid of the turf. They might just store it without further use or reuse some of it, for example, for a playground base or an agility field for dogs. And at the moment, there's no real incentive for companies to do anything smart to the discarded turf. And we want to change that and make circularity a top priority. And how do we do this? Our approach is that let's create a dynamic purchasing system for handling the discarded turfs. What is this dynamic purchasing system, or DPS as we call it? It is a procurement system where any company can join our pool anytime, and those companies get to exclusively tender on our projects. To join the pool, they need to match or exceed our criteria that is mostly based on different sustainability metrics. And our system is valid for 2 years, which means that we can use it for multiple rounds of tendering as we need to renew fields every year. And why is this an innovative approach? First of all, we think it's really attractive for companies because they can join the pool anytime. They don't need to be ready at the starting point, but they can join anytime during the 2-year process. And they get really up-to-date information about our needs and our needs as we update our criteria for each tendering round. And then, of course, the companies know that they have multiple opportunities to tender on our project. And this all means that they can trust that investing in circularity can really pay off. It's also good for the city. We can be more agile compared to more traditional procurement procedures. This DPS system is easier, quicker, and more flexible. One of the main benefits of it is that we can update our quality criteria for each round of tendering. And this means that the City of Helsinki can raise the circular bar gradually, asking for more innovative and more circular solutions each time. And in my last slide, I want to show where our bar is set right now. So for us, the circularity and the quality of the solution is more important than the price right now. So what kind of quality do we expect? The minimum is that the companies promise to separate all the different parts of the turfs. So there's the infillings, the rubber and the sand, and then there's the actual artificial grass made from plastics. Those needs to be separated. But that's just the kind of minimum. They get 0 points. They can join, but they get 0 points. When we rank the companies or their offers, they can get up to 100 points, and 80 of those points come from the quality of their solution. So we really want to emphasize the circularity. And full points are for solutions that chemically or mechanically recycle all of the artificial grass and then reuse the infillings in other grounds. Companies get less points if their solution is not that ambitious, and the least points are for solutions where the company just gets rid of the material, and usually it is through burning it for energy. The best thing here is that these criteria can be updated if more circular solutions become available. And we are right now in the process of ranking these tenders for the first time. And next spring, we will use the results from this round to make better criteria. So in this presentation, I don't have the time to dig deeper to this topic, but here's a little sneak peek of our current criteria. This is one of the 4 tables we use to rank the tenders. And you can look at it while I will end my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Eric, for this presentation. And it's really great to see the criteria. It was something that many signatories are interested in. So I think it might pique the interest of other of our participants. So we're slightly over time, but we have one final presentation. And last but not least, we have the city of Rotterdam, Hundar, will present a few tools that they're using. So can we...
Good afternoon.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Gerard Kroon. I've been working in this field for quite some years. Could you click the slides? Thanks. I've got some experience in several product categories and written a book with some of my colleagues about it, which you can find in the link, the link is in the chat box. Since 2 years, I've been contracted by the municipality of Rotterdam to perform my role as transition director of circular procurement. My aim is to make sure that all the processes in Rotterdam are in place so that we can generally start this circular procurement, because it happens ad hoc, it happens sometimes, but there's no real strategy behind it yet. So that's what my role is. And I want to tell you something more about the monitoring tool that we've been developing. Next slide, please. We have some general national policy that has been adopted by a lot of cities, including Rotterdam. Those policy targets consider circular targets, but also CO2 climate targets. And this first target is somewhat vague for us because we don't have any idea where we're at right now. There's no calculation of our current status. So one question for all the participants: does anyone know how circular they are at this stage. So if you could write that in the chat, that would be nice.
I think the figure is
And
like
then only the people
7% for Europe.
who do have an idea. Because we in Rotterdam, we still don't have any idea. That's actually the reason that we started this monitoring tool. If you could click to the next slide, please. Because in Rotterdam, if we're talking about circularity, we're talking about 4 words actually. We focus on less, we focus on better, we focus on longer, and we focus on again. Those 4 words are used a lot because they actually encompass the whole circular lifespan as we are concerned. So what we try to do is to get less materials by refusing projects or refusing products considering those projects, or reducing the amount of materials that are used. And also we want to diminish the input materials by using secondary materials or bio-based materials. And those 2 ways of minimalizing the inputs flow is going to help us to get closer to that aim of 50% less primary materials in 2030. That is, which is only 5.5 years from now. If you could click the, so those 2 input flows are interesting for us to consider and to monitor. Next slide, please. Currently, we're working on this monitoring tool, and it's called Wizard. I'll send description in the chat about the tool. We're focusing on 3 subjects. We want to know what kind of input we use in all our projects, and those projects consider generate all the infrastructure and construction within the city that has been built by the municipality. So we're focusing on input and want to get this primary material use 50% lower than it is right now, because this is our first monitoring moment. So we're gonna ask all the contractors to deliver us data on the primary non-renewable materials, primary renewable materials, the recycled materials, and the reused materials, so we can put them in percentages, and we know how far we are in our reaching our goals on that. The output flow is also important. So we're going to ask that for the constructors as well, the contractors, to register what happens to the output once they get materials out of a project. And last but not least, the CO2, the climate change, considering the material use, is being monitored as well. So we're asking them to give us a CO2 footprint of the materials. And in Holland, we also have a tool based on life cycle analysis that gives a environmental cost indicator. So that's how we can also get this information from contractors. They are familiar with this tool in Holland, so a lot of parties will be able to grant this. So if we have these indicators, we have a good feeling, a quantitative feeling where we are now and how far we are from our targets. If you go to the next slide, please. We also ask a few process indicators. We want to know what's going to happen with future reuse. If the design is detachable, so if the building, for instance, is easy to detach. What measures have been taken to extend the lifespan, and we want to monitor in how many contracts we do have material data and environmental data. So those indicators will give us and other municipalities in Holland, because it's open for everyone to use. You just have to become a subscriber. it's open for all Dutch users, but they might be able to translate their tool as well to English or other languages, and other cities could use it as well. That's my presentation.
Thank you so much. That's really great to see all these tools that exist and already being used. And it's important to not do circularity for the sake of circularity, but also have some impact and be able to measure and convince people it's actually working. Thanks to all of our speakers. It's really interesting the diversity of approaches and tools that could help enable circular procurement. So that brings us to the end of our presentation round. So now we will, if you have any questions to our speakers, you can post them in the chat directly, and we will pick them up at the end of, well, we'll pick them up bilaterally. Before we have a short break, we want to get some reactions on some of the things you've heard today. So we'll do a rapid fire round, which is a way where I'll ask you a few questions, and I want a quick instinctual response from participants. And the way we're going to do it today is we'll use the emojis that are in the emojis that you can see in your options with reactions. So you can put like other little, so if you go to reactions next to AI companion, you should be able to react by either saying yes with a green button or no by a red button. So maybe can we do a trial? Or you can use something else if you don't know, or you can be a bit more creative if you want. So we'll see. Maybe I see Sonia smiling and laughing. Can you send me an emoji to see if you can find the button? Yes, I see a heart, yes. So people know, yes. And a green. Okay, perfect. So you got the principle. So now let's get some reactions on this first statement. Suppliers are usually ready to provide more circular solutions. I see a lot of no's. I see one yes from Simon. Yep. I see across my screen a lot of, yep, a lot of no's. So people, one yes from the municipality of Roskilde. So you have to tell us how the suppliers there are providing circular solutions. Moving on to our second question. Before procuring goods and services for a circular project or any form of circular procurement, it is necessary to measure or estimate the potential impact of circular solutions on the environment or society. Do you need to have the numbers beforehand? I see here a lot of greens, yes. Some mixed responses, but I think most people would say it's a yes. It's better to have the numbers ahead. Okay. Thank you for this answers. It's interesting insights. Third statement, you can only do circular procurement if you use a innovation procurement approach, either a PCP or pre-commercial procurement, agile procurement procedure. Is it that circular procurement is innovation procurement? Okay, I see that most of the reactions is a no. It doesn't have to be a no. I let a few responses. Yeah, from most participants, I see I see like a party popper. No, it's a no. Okay. So it doesn't have to be innovation procurement procedure. And last but not least, if staff in my municipality were aware of the tools and mechanisms, like the ones you were presented to today, that can support circular procurement processes, it would be easy to maintain your approach. And so when I say staff in your municipality, I'm talking about public procurers, people who are involved in the project managers, etc. Okay. I think, yeah, it's also a mixed scene here. I think, yeah, I think it's maybe no, I'm not sure. I haven't counted, but okay, so there's more of a debate on this question. So that brings us out to the end of our presentations. Thanks to you all. We'll take a very quick break. So if you need to grab a glass of water or something, we'll give you 2-3 minutes break to stretch your legs. It will be rapidly back. So we'll take a very, very quick break. So see you in 2 minutes back on this call. Don't go very far. I hope you enjoyed your very brief break. I know this is potentially not enough time to really have a break, but I thought it's good to have some time to at least quickly stretch your legs. So we will move on with the second part of the program. So if you're back online, can you switch your cameras on or show us if you're back here? Okay, I think most people are here. So we will have breakout room discussions now. So you'll have the choice to join a breakout room of your choice. So we'll maybe do it in 25 minutes to have enough time for last announcement at the end. So you'll have a choice of these 3 breakout rooms. So in each of these breakout rooms, we'll discuss how one of these policy levers that you should all be familiar with can help the implementation of circular procurement. So the first one will be around roadmaps and strategies and stakeholder engagement in the process. And this will be kindly facilitated by Rachel and Andy from London and, well, London Borough of Newham and London. We will then have Elmar from Circular Founders, who has kindly accepted to facilitate the breakout room around capacity building and circular procurement. So thanks to him for having this discussion with us. And with me, you can discuss how to navigate the EU landscape So we know there's many sectoral legislations that can affect procurement processes. So how to navigate this and find solutions to be better informed. So my colleague Chiara will open these breakout rooms. We'll ask you a set of questions. So how can these levers support the implementation of circular procurement practices? What are the main challenges you are facing in adopting a more circular approach to public procurement? What has resonated with you from the presentation? Is there any tool or strategies you think were particularly relevant to your work? And do you have any interesting examples you want to share with other colleagues in the breakout? So we will open now the breakouts and we will see you in there. Each one will be facilitated and we'll be back in 30 minutes, in 25 minutes. So you could all join. And if you have any technical issues, you can message my colleague Chiara, who's helping us today. So you should have a window popping up on your screen and you should be able to join a breakout room of your choice. Thanks a lot, and we'll see each other in 25 minutes. Hello and welcome back. I hope you were not cut mid-sentence too abruptly to come back to the main session. We'll be wrapping up the webinar, but first we want to get your key insights on how your discussions went. And so to do that, we'll go back to the Metimeter, the same one we used before. So I'll invite all the people who were in breakout room 1 to fill in this. So we'll be using a word cloud. So if you go to meti.com, MENIT, with the code 63599497, you should be able to enter this and put a few words that stuck out from your conversation. So if you're in breakout room 1, where you discuss roadmap and strategies with London and the London Borough of Newham, hi, another money. I give these participants a few minutes to think about it. And for those who are in breakout room 2, we'll do the same. So think about your key insights, like what was like the word or the key phrase that really stuck out for you. And we'll so I'll give breakout room 1 a few more minutes to, well, 1 more minute to fill this in. We had the word in funding attitude. Yeah, you can scan this with the QR code. Use market knowledge. Yeah. Now we're seeing more participants in. Using a holistic approach. So I can see that you had quite a interesting conversation here. Test the possibilities, yes. Start by baselining. So I think that refers to a bit what in presentation from the city of Rotterdam, understanding what's the starting point, how circular your city is, can be quite an important measure in measuring the progress. If you have one last word or comment to add this, I give you 20 seconds more to enter it. So yeah, 18 response, so quite interesting to see. So I think you had quite a interesting discussion. I don't know if you, Rachel, or Andy want to comment on what you're seeing here and if it's reflective of the discussion you had in the breakout session.
Yeah, from my point of view, really the case, and we talked a lot about how you engage stakeholders. You get the tools, you get the targets, and then how do you energize people across large organizations and all of their partners and stakeholders. We talked about that idea of levers and leverage. you follow the money and you try not to release the money without building in those conditions, building in the ask.
And I would just add to the point around figuring out your starting point is really important. Figuring out where you're starting and then tracking your progress as you go.
Very interesting insights. Thanks so much for both of you for facilitating this breakout session. I hope it was also interesting for you. Now we will look at what the breakout session 2 had to discuss. So anyone who was with Elmar in the second breakout session discussing capacity building and know-how, please provide your key insights. So same QR code, same code on Meti, and I'll maybe invite Elmar to unmute himself and maybe comment on what's appearing on the screen with me. So I'm not seeing any responses yet. Yes, one. So it's a time-consuming process. Yeah.
That's right. Time is a specific resource that we all need, and especially when you start the process, there is a lot of information available. There are a lot of good examples. There's most of the time there's a drive to start with the change, but of course it takes time, and this is even more important than just extra people. Maybe you need extra people to hire, you know, to create an organization that is capable of coping with this issue, but you need to have time to work on it. So that was one of the key messages, or one of the key resources that we would like to see or would like to have. There is an urgent need for market consultations. That's also true for other topics, of course. Market consultations, and you need to take with you experts on the product category themselves, but also people with expertise in environmental sustainability and circularity, which is something relatively new still. I've heard that around the table. So knowledge about indeed environmental aspects and circularity is still lacking at some point. Especially with some, you know, people or departments that are really, you know, driving on the same and traditional way of coping with purchasing assignments all those years. So you need some extra knowledge on circularity. Difficult to measure, low budgets. That's you know, you need some extra time, of course, but also some money to maybe also to strengthen your process with external expertise or with external advice, and then you need a bit more time, a bit more money. But we also concluded, or we said that you know, in the end, if you really take into account the environmental costs, the environmental life cycle costing, and the things that you can do more with circular products, then in the end it would be cheaper than just having linear products. But that is also something that you would need to measure and to you know, bring clarity in the complexity of circularity by the right frameworks and the right tools.
It sounds like you had a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, really much too short, of course. I think there was a good you know, input from all different people. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, and thanks for all your insights and responses. Moving out to breakout room 3, we were a very, very small group of 3. So we did discuss a few things. We had Kim from the Project City Loops that we worked closely with, and he mentioned that there's not enough targets on procurement in the city, but these mostly relate to energy and climate. And what we see here at the European level is as part of the GPP advisory group, often you have sectoral legislations that are being decided, and these have like delegated acts where they have mention of procurement, and often it's very hard for family procurers or people across a city to be aware of the new building, climate, energy, food, etc. regulation. So keeping track of all of these can be a challenge. So these are some of the challenges. We haven't really found solutions on this, but we had an initial talk about this. So thanks all for your discussions, and I hope that you found these breakout room discussions interesting. We will now present a few opportunities that we have for you. So Simon and Oriana, do you want to tell us a bit more first about the EIB and also the survey?
Sure, thanks, Helena, and hi, everybody. Great to see so many people joining us for this. For those who don't know me, my name is Simon Clement, and I'm Head of Circular Economy at ICLEI, and I'm managing the Circular Cities Declaration. So it's really fantastic to see the engagement on this topic. Of course, we can only ever scratch the surface of this. So also what's really encouraging is to see that interchange and exchange and how many good examples there are out there. So hopefully this conversation will be continued offline after the webinar as well. So just very quickly to talk you through some broader opportunities that are available at the moment for signatories to the Circular Cities Declaration, and of course cities elsewhere. First of these has been mentioned already by the EIB, and this is the Circular City Centre, C3, which the EIB has recently launched as a new phase. And the objective of C3 is to support European cities in their circular economy transition. And it does this primarily through offering free advisory and consultancy programs, both for cities at early stage exploration on circular principles, developing circular economy action plans, and then circular projects for implementation. And then further down the line, more directly looking at helping to prepare those circular projects for financing. And this program is open to any EU applicant, any EU city applicant. And I'm happy to share more information myself. And also we have EIB colleagues with us here as well. Another initiative to mention in a similar vein is the European Circular Invest project. And this project also provides project development assistance to help circular economy projects secure funding. Primarily here, we're looking at smaller scale local projects. And the project provides these services for free, looking at how those circular solutions can be improved, how fundraising can be addressed, how business planning can be improved and optimized, for example. There's an open call there available for any applicant by September the 13th with the website that you have there. This is open also to EU applicants plus other countries that are covered by the Horizon Europe program. So very happy to share more information about either of those. If we pass on to the next slide, here's a list of some of the upcoming activities that are going to take place. And the first of these, as Helena has already alluded, I will pass across to Oriana Romano from the OECD to talk about the survey, if Oriana is with us here in the call.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Simon and colleagues. My name is Oriana Romano, and I lead the OECD program on the circular economy in cities and regions. And I would like to invite you all to contribute to a survey. I know that you have been quietly overwhelmed by surveys already, but this is really the way we have to gather information and help you further to accelerate your journey towards a circular economy transition. In fact, the OECD is collaborating with the European Commission. We will be launching a report next April 2025 on the circular economy in cities and regions in the European Union. And the idea is to get from the results of this survey, what are your headaches, how the European Commission can help in terms of regulation that can have a direct impact on cities and regions. We know that there is a lot in terms of regulation, legislation, directives, strategies, but they mostly target the national level, and sometimes and in many studies as we have carried out at the OECD level in cities and regions, regulation, for example, represent one of the obstacles actually hindering the transition rather than favoring it. Also, there may be obstacles or untapped opportunities in terms of financing. But again, even participating in two calls or projects at European level could be a burden for you. So we want to hear from you what are the challenges and the opportunities, how the European Commission can support further this transition, and how the OECD and other organizations can help you further into this journey. You can see here the link to contribute to the survey. I think we're gonna put also in the chat so that you can click directly on it. You can respond by the 30th of June 2024, but should this deadline won't meet, should this deadline don't meet your current like opportunity to respond, we can be flexible. Please send us an email just to say that you would be interested, and we can find a way to let you contribute to the survey. Thank you so much for the attention, and back to you, Simon.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Oriana. And yeah, I would encourage everybody to participate in that. Of course, the more we hear, the more policymakers at the European level hear from cities, the more a supportive, enabling framework will be developed for cities for implementation. So please go ahead with this. Jonas from the EIB has also put in the chat there some links directly to the Circular City Centre program, together with their email address, and the OECD survey is also included there as well. So just to mention another couple of upcoming activities that will take place. The next newsletter of the Circular Cities Declaration is scheduled for this autumn, October, November. So that will be an opportunity for people to inform the network around their ongoing activities, opportunities, etc. We will organize the next webinar in this series also in autumn. The topic is still being determined, but this is going to be carried out in collaboration with Zero Waste Europe, which is probably an organization that many of you are familiar with as well. And very finally, to mention one of the biggest events for cities, and well, probably the biggest event for cities and sustainability this year is the 10th European Conference on Sustainable Cities and Towns that is taking place in Aalborg in Denmark on the 1st to the 3rd of October this year, with a huge number of speakers and a great many participants. Very interesting program is being set up, and circularity will be a core part of that. So I would encourage anyone who's interested to register with the link there. Okay, and I think that's it from my side. So Helena, I will pass back to you to close.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your time and for joining this discussion. My key takeaway from today is like there's many ways of doing circular procurement, and it's not just one way. There's different tools available, there's funding. Even though there's challenges, it's great to see so many cities already doing it and doing it quite well with many interesting examples. We are always on the look of case studies and examples to share and promote, so you can always write to me directly and share your examples. And I can only say thank you to our support partners and speakers today. It's been a really interesting webinar for me, and I hope for you too. And it's 4 p.m. Central European time, so I think it's time to close this webinar. Thanks to you all.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.